Good evening and welcome to the LFC Total Red Football Podcast with me, Kings. Tonight I'm joined by Matty, Kev and Tom. All right, lads, how's it going? Kev, I'll start with you first. You okay?
All good, mate. All good. Still champions. Still top of the league. Still the best. Pre-seasons have started already. No one's asked. Everyone's having a jolly. I'm going to Brighton next week. Don't care if we win. Don't care if we lose. I'll be singing all the way through, and I'll be getting very intoxicated. So all good for my end, mate. All good with you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's been a pretty chilled weekend. So it's been, I'm sure for most, it's been nice hot sun. So it's been don't do a lot now because obviously, I've mentioned before, my wife works at Wrexham, so the season's finished there. So it's been a lot less stress for the last this weekend at least. So hopefully for the next few at least, and then we'll see how it goes. But yeah, happy days. Matty, how's it going?
Not bad. Same as Kev. Don't think anything will knock my mood, to be honest. Just riding life up until the 25th of May. And then obviously that's going to be one of the best weekends of me whole entire life. So just riding out till then. Couldn't care if we lose every game. Couldn't care if we win. Couldn't care if we draw. I'm a bit more arsed on my fantasy footy, to be honest with you, for the running on that than the title running, because our season's done. Just feels like pre-season, doesn't it? It's just a bit.
Yeah.
Even the games just feel very pre-season-esque. It's just a bit of but can't wait for Palace. That's all I'm looking for.
Finally, Tom, how are you? You okay?
Yeah, all good, yeah. Don't have much to add to that, to be fair. The Reds are champions, the sun's out. Life's good, isn't it?
It is at the moment, yeah. It's been quite a nice few weeks just kicking back, feet up, thinking it's all done. By the time we played them, obviously yesterday, it was a little bit like, I'm not bothered. Funny enough, as you said there, all three of you basically mentioned is like, do I want to win every game Liverpool play? Yes. Am I bothered now it's in the bag? Not necessarily. I've got to be honest, I was at an event last Sunday and couldn't watch the Chelsea game. And it comes up on the score and it's like 2-0, I think it was at the time, and ends up 3-1. And I'm literally just sitting looking at the TV going, don't care. Doesn't bother me. Where normally I'd be quite annoyed or whatever. It's just like, does it make any difference? No. Not spoiling my day because there's no relevance. And in a way, even yesterday, which we'll get on and talk about shortly, I started the game just with the thing of, yeah, I'd like to put one over on Arsenal, but it's not necessarily anymore. It doesn't have to be because we've already done that and they have to give us the guard of honour. So that's all I cared about. I'm just like watching them do it and be like, yeah, I'm happy now. I'm okay. That's made my day. So, yeah, good times at the moment. So we are going to kick off and talk about, obviously, the game yesterday. Kev, I'll come to you first. It was a bit of a strange one because, like we said, the Chelsea game last week, this one, they probably, I'm sure Arne Slot would come out and say, no, we've trained every day and we've been right on it and we want to win everything. Of course, he's got to be professional and say that. But as we've said as fans, and I'm sure the players are the same, they've took their foot off the gas a little bit. Ended up as a 2-2 draw, but were you that bothered?
No, because that first half is probably one of the best atmospheres and best times I've had in my life, starting off with that guard of honour. You see them having the humiliation of that, and then how we start. Don't get me wrong, they started well. They had a great set piece that Saka should have scored. It's great that he never. But then after 20 minutes, we were just in another gear. Every time we went forward, thought we were going to score, and singing, "Where's your European Cup?" We're 2-0 up. It doesn't get any better. It's sunny. I'm having a boss day of my life. It's just that first half couldn't have gone any better. Second half, things happened, and there's things that we need to work on. You can tell with our game management when we go in at half time, bringing that out. But at the end of the day, I'm not really that bothered. I can wait till after the season's finished and we've all had our celebrations. But no, to be fair, that first half, I don't think we could have played any better than what we did. And, everyone played really well. Curtis had a few little scares at the where they should have scored. But other than that, had a really good game. Showed that, he should be part of this team and integral part of this team, as did others. Everyone stepped up. was just it's just, as I say, that first half couldn't have gone any better. It's just a shame it couldn't have been about 4 or 5-0 after that first half, because I think the game would have been dead and buried. But we didn't start the second half well. We were lackluster, and I just think we just took our foot off the gas and just thought, right, this is done, and who cares if they get a goal back and then they get another back, then they go down to 10 men. I'll be honest, I lost interest in the game. It's nice going to a match and just not having a care in the world if we win or lose. But the fact that it was the manner how we turned up in that first half. That first half, the way we played, there was some great football. It's great to see that young 18-year-old playing left back, up against Salah, and Salah's class of, I don't have to beat you, but me pass will, is just phenomenal. The ball he plays to Szoboszlai is just unbelievable, and that was a great little battle that I enjoyed watching. I didn't actually watch the match after that. I was just literally just looking at the little pockets of around the field. I thought Odegaard played well for them. Probably his first time he's turned up in the last couple of weeks. Usually called no shoulder guard, isn't he? So it's kind of nice to see us put them under the sword a bit and give him a bit of a fume. And you can see why it rattled them as well. It riled with them, and I hope it does. But at the end of the day, I don't care. It didn't take anything away from the day. I got my bonus points in me fantasy league, so everything's all well with me at the minute. So it's all win.
Definitely on a high. Tom, just going back to, we said at the beginning of the game that the Guard of Honour, no team who's runners up, and Liverpool have had to do it for City, etc. Whatever over the years, no team likes doing that, and it does hurt. And maybe that will spur Arsenal on next year. Maybe they'll just stay as they are because they'll be in phase 15 of whatever Arteta's doing. I don't know. But it is a hurtful thing, and you don't want to be on the receiving end, but it's nice when it's Liverpool running out to that, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's what dreams are made of, really, and especially with the comments he's been coming out with lately about best team in Europe, which I thoroughly enjoyed that chant, by the way, yesterday. I thought that was one of the highlights of the game. Yeah, brilliant stuff. But yeah, he's been coming out with some mad stuff, and that stuff about him saying, like, if we got Liverpool's points over the last 2 years, then we'd have won it and all this. There's still 2 games left, so yeah, I think he's losing the plot, to be fair. Even that.
I was going to say, he's very random when he comes out with things like that, and you think, but it doesn't matter because you didn't win the league. I don't know how he kind of equates this in his head. What's he trying to prove by getting these sayings out there? Just going, well, we would have won the league. It's like, well, you didn't. You didn't win the European Cup. You haven't won anything. So give it up, mate.
Even that girl who interviewed him after the PSG game, just fully taking the piss out of him once. She was saying, like, he was saying, their bench said that we were the better team. And they said, she was saying, like, who said that? And he said, like, their bench, but she was just fully having him off. It was class. But yeah, he's just making himself look an absolute tit at the moment, to be honest, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. He's fully losing the plot. And yeah, as for us, great day in the sun watching the game. Like, as kind of the lads have said, I couldn't care less if we won. I didn't want us to get beat, but I couldn't care less if we won or drew, to be fair. It's one of them. I was just going through the motions now and just enjoying the whole thing. And yeah, as we said, just can't wait for that weekend now. The Palace game and the parade. It's what dreams are made of, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, Matty, it's the same for yourself, the same as the rest of us, because you can sit back and relax a little bit with a few games to go. That is a nice feeling. Running out, the lads running out at Anfield, sun's beating down, everyone's there, just in a party atmosphere, really, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's like, what better time than to be a Red, to be honest with you. Like, we've waited for days like this our whole life, like me especially. When we won the league the other year, it got took away from us. I mean, I did go to the ground when Chelsea won. I did go out on the docks the day after and stuff like that. But knowing that in like 2-3 weeks' time, we get to see Liverpool lift the Premier League at Anfield and then parade it round, I honestly couldn't care less about the games in between. Like Tom said, I just didn't want to get beat against Arsenal. But what made that result better for me was we turned up in the first half and said, this is the standard you need to be if you want to be Premier League champions. And in the second half, we just sat off, didn't care. They still couldn't beat us. They couldn't overturn them 2 goals. So it shows the levels between us and Arsenal. I don't even fear them next year. People are talking about Arsenal being favourites next year. They're not. Liverpool are the Premier League champions, and they've they've pissed the league this year. So Liverpool, therefore, are the favourites next year, surely. Like, other people need to catch us. Other people need to improve to catch us while we improve as well. And it's just good to see, like Kev said, some players getting minutes and that. It's been nice to see Harvey Elliott get minutes, but I do think he's looked a bit poor. I think the past few weeks have made me understand why Slot hasn't used him, which is disappointing, really, because I do like Elliott. But even Jones, I've always said he should be a squad player, and I think he's shown that he's got good moments in him. But over a period of a season, he's a good squad player. But then Arnie's assessing, he's basically saying to players, go and play and show me why you should be in the team next season. And you can see that, Joe, what I mean? They are showing little things, what they can and can't do. And I'm just really excited, to be honest with you. Like, this season for me now is done. We've won the league. Get the lifting it over and done with, and allow us to party for that weekend and have some of the best weekend of our life, and then go again next year. I honestly don't care what happens between now and the 25th of May, as long as, like, that 25th of May, I just want it to come tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Like, being in the ground with my brother is going to be the best day of my life. And then the day after, I'm going to try and find Kev hanging off of Bertie or Betty on top of the ladder building and see where he's swinging from and go and join him. I can't wait.
Now, I know that I'll stick with you, Matty, at the minute. I know that you said you were maybe slightly hungover yesterday, so you didn't go to the game. So you, like me, had the benefit of the replays and everything, which obviously when Kev, Tom, yourself are normally at the game, you don't get. The goal with, as Kev said, Salah to Szoboszlai to go in. I mean, what a pass that! When they showed it from different angles, it was actually quite a fantastic pass from Salah, wasn't it? But the way Dominic Szoboszlai just, I don't know, adjusted his feet and then nicked it to one side just to be pushed in. It was a cracking goal, wasn't it?
Unbelievable. And just on Szoboszlai, I feel like the past few weeks of us winning the league early's benefited him, because he's been allowed to have that little bit more creative freedom. And we've seen the signs of why Liverpool wanted him, to be fair. And I'd like to see more of that next season and playing and with that pressure sort of off him. Maybe he will play with that now. He's won a title at Liverpool, but I think the past few weeks, Szoboszlai has been brilliant for Liverpool. But Mo Salah, you've run out of superlatives to talk about him. Really is the best player in the world at the moment. He really, really is. There's nobody even close to him. And like Tom said earlier, he knew he weren't going to beat Miles Lewis-Skelly on the run, so he just knocked it past him anyway. And the pinpoint passing was superb. I mean, the only naff done me head about Salah yesterday. 8 years or however many years he's been at Liverpool, we've all been crying out for the lad to pass sometimes and not just always go for goal. Yesterday, I was crying out for him to shoot. There's the amount of positions he was in where Mo Salah's scoring, but he wants that assist record. It was doing me head in. I was just like, just shoot. Like, that was the only criticism I'd have from yesterday, that Salah was evidently trying to get these assists, to get 20 assists, which fair play to him, but there was some chances yesterday where you knew Mo Salah could have buried it quite easily and put the game to bed, but instead he was just trying to be... You've never seen Mo Salah be this selfless in his whole Liverpool career. I feel like it's mad even watching and looking for other people, but that's the only criticism I'd have from yesterday. Even though it was like a 2-2 game, I think we were fantastic first half. Second half dropped off a bit. Probably all die on Dubai today. But I can't say a bad word about anyone who plays for that team. They've just won as a Premier League. They can do what they want.
Yeah. Tom, when you're sitting in the stadium and you see a pass like that, of course, you have to take it in, as we were just saying, there and then. You don't get the replay, but it's still fantastic being there, watching just things like that. 2 quick goals. You know, everybody's at ease anyway, because, like I said, we've won the league, fair enough, but it's still nice to win or be ahead in games. So 2 quick goals and a really good feeling, you know, just watching the play like that. 'Cause they were really good first half, weren't they?
Yeah, I think we kind of wanted to put a bit of a statement on that first half, didn't we? Just to say, like, you know, as Matty said before, this is why we're champions. This is the standard you have to kind of reach. And yeah, some of the passes, Salah, not even yesterday, but just the whole season, he's just been a joke to watch, hasn't he? Like, I never thought I'd see anything like that Suarez season, but I think Salah's probably edged it, to be fair, this season. He's just, it's the goals and the create and the assist in it. It's like the complete package of this year has just come together. Obviously, like a physical freak as well. He's just gone to another level this year. And you know, the 8 years he's been here, he's been ridiculously consistent, but this is another level to what I've ever seen him. Even the first year, 44 goals, he's another level to that, his all-round game. So yeah, he's a joy to watch, and yeah, as I said, the team were a joy to watch yesterday, and I did see a few of their end getting off when it went 2-0. I always do that after. If we would like go 2-3-0 up in a game, in a big game, always have a little look at that away end, and you always see there's a few getting off, and it's just great to see. I love it. But yeah,
is that the kind of thing? You know, do you ever do that, Kev, Matt, and Tom? You know, and do you ever kind of like, oh, we're 2-3 down, and you kind of not bothered? Do you get off early, or do you like, no, I'll stick it out until literally the final whistle? I don't know, Kev. I'll come to you first.
Go the final whistle.
I got off early after the Carabao Cup final because I just couldn't see us scored. To be honest, when it went 2-0, I didn't want to be in that stadium, see them all celebrating. I hate seeing English teams celebrating in the way that I do. I hate it. That's why I can't. That's why I'm looking forward to the Champions League final.
But overall, at Anfield now, you don't leave early normally.
No. Look, back in the day, I was, and that was due to under Hodgson, there'd be a 3-goal rule in which if we were 3-0 down or 3-0 up, I'd be out. But you look at the quality of the game that we're playing now. It's very seldom I leave early. I have done, and that's mainly because I'm in work the following morning, quite early in the morning. I have to leave ours around 5:30 in the morning. But other than that, I would normally be in there till the 90th minute, 95th, depending on that. So that's me.
Fair enough. Matty, you started to say you don't leave early now?
No, I'll never leave early. I can't remember what game my brother wanted to go early, and he went and he missed. I remember I was only young, saying I'd never go, and till the end. I don't know what it is. My granddad used to instill it into me as well, so I feel like he'd haunt me if I left the game early. Even the Carabao Cup final, it was like the 88th minute. I just stood there and what am I doing here? I could be 25 minutes down the motorway here, like play 5 minutes closer to home, but I don't know what it is. I just can't go early, especially at Anfield. To be fair, like your budget in that I've got a plan. So when the board goes up, I walk because usually I'm either sat quite towards the back of the Cop or this season the back of the Annie Road. So I'll start walking down like a step every 20 seconds. So then when the final whistle goes, you're right down and you're out.
So if the steward looks at you, he thinks he is moving, but he's kind of like, he's not going to throw it, moan at you for standing still.
Yeah. Just
Nice.
hobbling away down the stairs. I'll just say that I've got something wrong with my leg or something if they pulled me, but no, I've never been pulled. I've always not. The only when Klopp was here, I stopped doing it for a few seasons because I wanted the fist bumps. But 9 times out of 10, when the board goes up, I start walking down and then hang around by the exit before going. It's just because I've got this proper anxiety that we'd miss a goal.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Tom. It's that thing, isn't it? If you leave early, as we've seen, many years ago with the Champions League final, we all know the history of that. But if you leave early, even if it's a minute early, into injury time, and there's something could happen, and it's like you'd be devastated to miss it, like a winning goal or an extra goal or a goal makes a hat trick or something, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's the risk reward, isn't it? Like, is it really worth getting home 10 minutes earlier for missing a goal? For me, it's not. Like, even the Carabao Cup, I knew it. Like I knew we weren't scoring in that game, but I'm not. I just can't run the risk. Like, I can get home half an hour later and I can make peace with it, but I can't make peace with missing a last minute goal. So that's the way I look at it. And I do always clap the players off. I'm one of them. I like clapping the players off, and pretty much not one of the last ones there, but I always wait till everyone's gone, and then even all the players have gone. Sorry, and then I'll get off. The only time I've left the game early is Strasbourg friendly, but I was the day after the Charity Shield. We beat City at Leicester in the Charity Shield a few years ago, and then we had Strasbourg the day after. I don't know why I went, to be fair, but I was hungover. We were getting beat 3-0. I was just like, why am I here? I got off about 50th minute or something. I had to get the steward to open the gate and all that. But it was just horrible. And since then, I've never gone to a friendly, and I'll never go to a friendly ever again after that.
I think, from my own point of view, I've said many times that I get tickets infrequently, so I can't leave early. I don't care if I'm stuck in traffic for an extra hour, which you don't want, but it happens. It's like I am not leaving early because whether it's Jurgen with his fist bumps at the end, whether it's Arne Slot now, or it doesn't matter. I have to save it every time I go to Anfield as best I can. So it's like I'm there early. as best as I can be, and then I leave late because I think, well, I might not come for X amount of time now, so it's like I take my chance to savor it all, and so you should, to be honest, because if you're lucky enough to be a season ticket holder or match by match or whatever, just being in that ground and savoring that crowd is something to behold. So it's like I would urge anybody not to leave early, because I would be gutted if it was a last-minute goal or a last-minute winner just because you think, well, if I get back to the car, if you miss a last-minute winner, you're forever going to be like, well, I've seen the replay, but you weren't there to watch it live. It's like, well, no, that's crap, so don't do that. I'm going to move on and talk about our favourite, soon-to-be ex-player. Kev's favourite, definitely Matty's favourite, I know. I'm not sure what you, Tom. I'll come to you first, funny enough. I'm not actually going into the fact he's leaving. That's been done to death. And so really is this subject of him getting booed yesterday. I don't know if it was right or wrong for fans to do it. They all have their own opinion. I've spoke to my father-in-law today. He was personally appalled that the fans booed the players in a Liverpool shirt, and he doesn't like to see that. And he said, fair enough, if once he comes back with Madrid or just as an ex-player in the future, if you want to boo him, fair enough. But he was saying while he's wearing the red, which, to be fair, I ended up the show last week by saying, if he's on the field, don't disrupt it for everybody else. That was my view at the time. And same for the parade. I don't want the parade tainted by the maybe the hate towards Trent when we've waited so long for this with fans. Now that's my opinion on it, but I'm going to ask you three, what you thought of it. So, yeah, go on, Matty. I'll come to you. I know your opinion on Trent leaving, but the booing around the game, did you expect it that much, or was it worse than worse than you thought?
I expected it, but not to that level. To be honest, I just didn't expect that many fans. If I would have been there yesterday, I would have booed Trent, which I know. I know. If you ask Kev, he'd say he wouldn't. So I do think it's a bit of a generational thing. But for me, I've never booed a Liverpool player when they played for us. But that to me shows how hurt fans are by Trent. And what's pissing me off the most with the Trent situation is being told how you should react to his departure. I think he is an arrogant. I'm trying to think of a nice word for rear end hole. That we'll say that, because for me, he's made this title running about him. It's always about Trent. It's the Trent show. He doesn't care. He has become so self-centered in recent years. It's unbelievable. And the nail in the coffin for me with Trent, when I think about it, was when he done that picture book with Harriet Pryor and shows winning the Ballon d'Or over winning more trophies at Liverpool. That shows how self-centered he is. And then to announce it and come out and say he didn't want to seem like he went through the back door. Now, if Trent, all the fans knew Trent was going. If Trent wouldn't have said nothing prior to the end of the season, nothing would have been mentioned. He would have got clapped around the pitch, would have got clapped on yesterday.
Yeah.
The title celebrations would have been fine. The parade would have been fine. Then he would have announced he was going, and everyone would have given the hate. But he would never have witnessed that. For me, yesterday, the killer for Trent would have been the fans singing Gerrard's name, because I think he knows Gerrard will always get his name sung around the ground, saying what's a Dalglish and what's a Shankly and stuff like that, where Trent never will anymore. But we're talking about a player here who people are saying now, like, he's chasing his dreams. He's not. His dream was to play for Liverpool Football Club. He's a lad from West Derby, grew up 2 minutes from Melwood. His dream was to play for Liverpool, not Real Madrid. What does my head in is 4 years ago, he refused to sign a 6-year deal, which would have took him to the age of 30. So in my eyes, the way he's orchestrated this deal, I think Trent knew he was leaving 4 years ago. He knew that this contract took him to the peak of his career at 28, and then he would have had the ability to talk to people for free. The money grabbers, the whole family, we're talking about his brother who touts out the free tickets to get the Champions League finals for $2,000 a go. And the money they already earned, do you know what I mean? That's all very money centered. And I think Arne Slot made a mistake yesterday bringing Trent on. And when everyone I spoke to, the ground was like a party, and then Trent came on and it just went down. No one knows how to act. Do you boo him? Just clap and what you do? Because I know 60,000 people in that ground, yes, they can't stand Trent right now. But 30,000 would never boo a Liverpool player. The other 27,000, however many home fans there are there compared to the aways, I think they're the thing of like, well, he's hurt us that much. I think Trent's hurt fans more than your Torres, more than a Coutinho, more than a Suarez, because just 2 years ago we were talking about how we had dreams to be like Gerrard and be like a one club man and captain the club and get honours at Liverpool, and one trophy at Liverpool means more than 10 elsewhere, and then he's jumping at the first opportunity to Real Madrid. And all this nonsense of they aren't our rivals, yet they are. Carragher said it himself on space, but they are a European rival. Liverpool against Real Madrid, how many times have we seen that final in modern day? They are a massive European rival, and chances are Liverpool will face Real Madrid in the Champions League next year at some stage. And for me, I think he deserved the boos for the way that he's went about leaving the club. Just like he's grew up idolising that club as much as us. He is a Liverpool lad. He's grew up on the red side of Merseyside, and he's grew up idolising Liverpool Football Club. And now he's tried to spin it all of how he loves the club and this was his dream, when we just know it wasn't. There's no lad. You can go knock at any house in Merseyside. I can guarantee there's no kid who goes, I dream of playing for Real Madrid, who's a Scouse lad. It just doesn't happen. Even Evertonians, their dream is to play for Everton, not Real Madrid, Everton. Because that's your boyhood side. That's the team you want. And I think he deserves his boos because of the way he left. Like when you factor it all in, the things he said about loving the club and then turns his back on it, the fact he wouldn't sign a 6-year deal, which would have took him past his peak, because he knew he was getting to this age and he was in a position then. And I've seen some people blaming the club stuff online, and I genuinely don't think Liverpool offered him his first deal in April of last year. Now, why would they renew it sooner? I think we should have renewed it sooner, but he was only 2 years into. 2 years ago, he was only 2 years into his 4-year deal. 3 years ago, he was only 3 years into his 4-year deal, and that's when we started talking. And you think of the money he's been offered and rejected. He's been offered, like, there's rumours, £350,000 a week. That's without sponsorships, to play for his boyhood side and probably captain his boyhood side in 2 years. And it was like full circle for him. We were back with Adidas. Remember that video we done like last year about how Liverpool and Adidas, it was made and him as a kid and all that. It's just all bollocks. It's just all bollocks. And I think he's pissed me off more than any player ever has in my whole entire life. And for that reason, I would have stand and proudly booed him, because I don't think he should have been. I think Slot got it wrong putting him on the pitch. But the minute he stepped foot on that pitch, I think he deserves to know that the fans can't stand him and he's not welcome back at this club. And I think, give it a few months, Trent Alexander-Arnold will realise very quickly that he shouldn't have left Liverpool. That's quote Klopp said about Coutinho. Stay your deal or the statue and you're on a leave, you'll just be another player. Trent probably would have got a statue. I know Stevie G hasn't got one yet, but he will get one, and Trent probably would have got one. I think when they expand the Kop, they might have a few more statues, and Trent probably 99% likely would have got one. He was in, like I've said it before, he was getting very close to surpassing Steven Gerrard, Trent. He's already won more than Gerrard, and if he would have stayed at Liverpool, he'd won 2-3 more leagues, another Champions League. You're talking of Trent in the same category as your Phil Thompsons and stuff. I know Gerrard's like up there, but in terms of players like them who've won countless European clubs, Trent would have been that. He would have been the face of the club, and he's turned his back on it. For when you work out his £80 million signing on fee and his 150 grand a week, if he would have signed a 4-year deal at Liverpool, he actually would have been on the same money, just spread out over 4 years. Yeah. So you can't even say he's there for money. He's just turned his back on his club like that, and for me, he deserves his boos. I know you'll get probably a very different answer from Kevin why you shouldn't boo them, but for me, he deserved it. And no players ever. You look at like Coutinho, people hate him, but he signed a new deal with Liverpool the year before he left to ensure we got good money for him. Yeah. Even like Suarez signed a new deal and went for more money. He held on for a year. He could have went for 40 million. He had a release clause the year before with Arsenal, don't forget, and he could have went, but instead he stayed and we got more money for him. And these are players who aren't even local lads. And then you've got Van Dijk. I love what he said today. There's no place in the world he'd rather be than Liverpool. You've got players from like Egypt and Holland who are more loyal to this football club than a lad from West Derby. Yeah. I just can't get my head around it. I think if Trent was born in Ayton, he would have stayed.
I knew we'd get a passionate answer from you. Tom, you were at the game. Did you boo?
No, I didn't. I can see why people did. Like, I can see why I don't have. It's one of them, as it's been said loads of times. You don't tell people how they should feel, and that's what I think. it doesn't sit comfortably with me booing someone who's trying to win a game for us in a red shirt. I know he's obviously not going to be there next year, but as of right now, he's still in a red shirt trying to win us a game of football. And for me, it just doesn't sit comfortably with me booing him while he's trying to do that. So I didn't boo, but as I said, I could see why they did. And it was just naive from Slot, to be honest, just to put him in that situation and to put the crowd in that situation. We knew what was coming. I don't think anyone expected the extent of the boos, but we knew there would be some boos. So what's the point of doing it? Just leave him out of the situation.
Slot did come out and say that obviously Bradley was lacking fitness. So what else could he have done? Because he needed to take him off probably and maybe not risk further injury because he's been up and down this year with injury. So what else could he have done instead of Trent? Could he?
Yeah, I mean, there was options.
Swerved a different way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. As I said, the result was it was irrelevant, really, wasn't it? So just find a way. There's just anything but that just ruined the whole kind of atmosphere. Yeah. I even heard, I sit in Lower Kerry, but I even heard there was people like fighting in the cop and stuff. It's just like we're about to win the league, and there's people fighting in the cop about some lad who just decided to go to Real Madrid. It's like, why even create that situation? Even in the Lower Kerry, there was a few people burning, and there was a few people shouting back saying "shut up," and it's just like, what? Just mad how like one right back who's very replaceable has just caused all this. It's just mad. But at one point though, I will say is like everyone's saying about Trent, he should have announced it earlier and all that, but I will give him his due on that one. Like that's why he's not announced it earlier, because if he announced it earlier, he'd have a whole fucking like half season of this, wouldn't he? Like people booing and like he just didn't need it. So
it could have derailed obviously going for the title as well.
Yeah, on that point, I don't think there was a right time to announce it. I think no matter what he did, he either got pelters no matter when he announced it. So on that one, I can't really blame him. But for everything else, the list goes on. Done it, like going on a free, the whole doing all this celebration, the whole cryptic stuff. Yeah, his brother laughing at Wembley, like the Man United performance, like the list goes on. Done it, like he's not covered himself in glory whatsoever. And as I said, I can't blame the people who booed him because I think arguably he deserved it. But as I said, for me, it doesn't sit comfortably with me. But I can't blame people who did because he's gone about it terribly, especially for a local lad who's come out on record and say he loves Liverpool, he wants to captain the club, he wants to do all this, and then just to kind of go back, in his words, out the back door. Really, it's just sad to see him go out this way because it didn't need to be this way. I think if he went for 100 mil, we could all say, fair enough. You want to go for a new challenge, fair enough. Leave respectfully, you get the club loads of money, fair enough. All the best. But the way he's acted and the way he's left on a free to Real Madrid, it's unforgivable, to be honest.
Kev, like I say, we've talked quite a few times on this podcast and other podcasts about Trent possibly leaving. That's been done and dusted because he is. What was your thoughts on yesterday? As Tom said there's reports of people, fighting each other in the cop, which I find bizarre. You're all there to support the team at the end of the day. I mean, I just find that nuts. If you were next to rival fans and they're goading you, I understand things boil over sometimes, but within your own fans, this happening, I just find it, I suppose, does it reflect society in a way? It's polarizing from one extreme to the other nowadays. People have such big opinions on some things that you'd go, why do you even care? But now it seems to be there's polarizing opinions from one extreme to the other, not just in football, in life itself. So are you surprised, one, there was maybe some fighting, and two, that he got the reception maybe as bad as he did? Did you boo, by the way?
I never. I've been silent, and I've been silent every time he's been on. Because I see him as an irrelevant part of this team and seen as being playing with 10 men when he's been on the pitch. So silence is deadly. I've changed my mind on him since the Man United game, in which all that week was all catered and armed around one individual and rather than the game. And that I thought was going to cost us the league, and the fact that we drew that game and we should have beat them and absolutely annihilated them. As for fighting, that's been going on in the away grounds, in the Leicester game, Leicester away. I believe there were small fractures of fans who were arguing. This is the most fractured I've seen our fan base over one individual. And the naivety of yesterday of putting a narcissistical player on that pitch who's all about himself was probably the worst thing. But also, I think it's also very intelligent of at the same time, because it sends a message to everyone else in the team that if you do what this individual has done, this is what's going to happen. Now, it's not how you enter a club, it's how you leave a club. And how he's leaving has tarnished everything he's got. He has come from an area, and he's come from an actual city that sees itself as its own country, and are very emotional and very passionate people, and will fight for everyone and anyone in the city and outside if we have to. How he has treated, or feels as though he can treat this fan base, is coming back to hit him, where a lot of people who are not from the city or don't understand it because they're not part of being involved in it as a fan or anything like that, don't understand it or comprehend what's going on. This is different from leaving a West Ham or a Chelsea or an Arsenal. This is the worst thing that can happen, because anyone who he is leaving to is actually a rival to us, regardless of who that team is, whether that's Real Madrid, whether that's Barcelona, whether it's anyone. We stand alone on that, and we are very proud of where we are from and what we are. And what he is he's going against everything that he's been brought up to feel. As Matty and Tom have quite rightly said, and as what Matty said before about, your boyhood club. This was never his boyhood club. If you look at the way he's treating the club, you don't treat it the way the way he has. The one thing I do hate about it all is that it's very funny how in society now that we can be fickle over a millionaire who's getting booed on the pitch because he's leaving. But when it comes to tragedy chanting when they're on Sky Sports or on TNT, everyone goes deaf to it and don't understand and don't call it out. And this is the worst thing about it all. It saddens me that we're talking about an individual yet again who's made it all about him and that's been since January. I would have got rid of him then. I've said then that's where he should have gone. He should have went straight away. But this is a clear message, and a clear message to anyone in that team now that if you're leaving, you leave on good terms, because you don't want to see it going like this. Szoboszlai was surprised. I was surprised, but I'm not surprised at how fractured it is over thing. So I saw people doing near me. I didn't stop them. I didn't call them out. As Tom and Matty would say, what anyone else, however anyone else reacts, I'm not going to tell them how to react. Their emotions are different to what mine. I will never, I'll never do that. I thought it was great in the fact that we sang about Gerrard, and we sang who was the other player that we sung about it as well at the same time, and then we just forgot about him. And then I would have left it at that. I would have preferred if it was just silent if he came on. I think that's more deadly than the actual booing itself. But for me, he's made it all about him. And the worst thing is he's signing, according to reports, he was signing Real Madrid shirts last season when he was over in Madrid. As Tom alluded to, his brother's in the home end in the Carabao Cup, and he's laughing his head off after we're 2-0 down. That doesn't sit right with fans, and especially from this city, because if you start thinking that you can take the piss out of us all, then that's the worst thing you can actually do, because then you become front and centre of everything, and the pelters are just going to get worse and worse. And the worst thing you know is he's now left himself in a position, and a conundrum for Slot is, do you play him for the rest of the remainder of the two games? Because it's going to get worse, and it'll get worse on the parade as well. So I would quite happily if he just left. But the problem is, I want us to be ruthless about it as well. I don't want to just give him up and go. If they want him for the World Club Championship, they've got to pay 10 million. Play Madrid at their own game. It annoys me that he is going. It's annoying me how he's treating this fan base. It's annoying me how he's treating this club. And the sooner he's gone, the better. Because at the end of the day, he will never ever be or be able to lace the boots of Zico, aka Phil Neal, who was our best right back that we've had, won 4 European Cups, countless, most decorated player at the club, and he was a right back. So he's nowhere near him. So he'll never be Zico. So, and that's the main thing for me. He moves on, and he'll never win a Ballon d'Or either. So.
Just a quick yes or no from each of them before we move on. Matty, do you think after seeing what happened yesterday, do you think Slot will play him at some point during the final game? Whether they boo him or whether they clap him, do you think he's going to take part in some time of that game?
I do, and I think it's because the Dutch are absolutely ruthless. And I think Slot knows what he's doing, and it's sort of a little bit like, you don't want to be part of my plans, do one. But he's not going to let him go easily. And I think as much as Slot made that mistake, I think he knew what he was doing. I think Conor Bradley will start every game, but the lad's been injured and not got match fitness. He's going to have to come off, and whilst you could put Endo there or something, I do think that Slot will put him in. I think he definitely will against Brighton. I think the away fans are a little bit more... not forgiven, but I don't think he'll get as many boos off the away travel on Reds than he will in the whole of Anfield. But yeah, I do think he'll play. I don't think he'll play against Palace though. And if Slot does bring along against Palace, I'll be very annoyed, because that day should be one big massive party, and no fan should be put in a position of, do we boo, do we not boo, do we stay silent, do we not stay silent? Should be no fights in that ground on that game. So I think for that reason, Trent, I don't even want him. I'm like Kev, I don't even want him in the matchday squad for that game. I don't want him on the bus. Why should he go and parade around the city with 1 million fans having the best day of their life, and he's sat there ready to go and get cuddly with you, Bellingham? He can do one. Don't want him near the bus, don't want him near the team, but he will do, sadly.
Yeah. Tom, do you think he's going to play any part in the last couple of games?
I have a bad feeling he will, to be fair. As Matty said, I'll be fuming if he comes on against Palace, because that's meant to be the best day of our lives and all this, and looks as a big party. And if he's coming out of, it's inevitably going to cause conflict in the ground again. It's just like, you just don't need it at all. But I do have a horrible feeling he's going to do it, which, as I said, I'll be fuming if he does, because it's just going to ruin what's meant to be a great day. And hopefully he kind of listens to the outside noise and just thinks, just leave him out. It's just not worth the hassle at all. So fingers crossed he doesn't, but I have a feeling he might do. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Kev, what do you think?
Yeah, he will. I'm hoping it's just Brighton away. But again, I'll just be silent if he comes on, and I won't do anything. I'll be saddened if he's there. I'll be saddened if he's at the front of the bus as well, giving it large, because you don't deserve to be up there, mate. If anything, so no, I'm with the lads. I'd like him not to be. I'd like him to be training with the under-8s personally, and keep him well away from the actual squad itself, and then send his medal by 3rd or 4th class if we can, and he gets it at the start of next season when he's at Real Madrid, along with a photo of the parade. That's what I'd be doing, and I'd probably do that if I could the day that they go out to the European Cup and we win it. So that's how I would. That's my mentality on it all. But again, I agree with Matty. The Dutch. This plays right in, as I said before, this is, although it looks naive, it's very clever, and it's very cunning. It shows the ruthlessness of Slot to a degree, because it's given everyone an element of, well, I wasn't expecting that, and I don't want to go down that route, because you're just going to be put front line and centre. And I think the way Slot has gone is, well, you're world class, and he'll hide behind that and go and put him right in the front, because you own it now. You've come out and told us that you don't want to stay. We want you to stay. We've offered you this. So there you go. You enjoy playing, okay? And take it from there. But again, it will be fractured, and it will continue. And it'll get worse, and we'll be talking about this next week and the week after, no doubt. But who knows?
for what it's worth, my opinion is I think when it comes to the Palace game, he might actually start Trent, all right? And people will be like, they'll be horrified. But when he came on against Arsenal, the atmosphere changed dramatically downwards. And I've got the feeling, just to prove a point, I've just got the feeling he's going to put him on to start. And then early in the second half, he'll take, and that means the atmosphere is going to be so-so. And it's supposed to be the best day ever. And I think he might take him off to prove a point then and go, right, we're putting Bradley on. He's the future. Give him a massive cheer that the atmosphere picks up, and then they go into party mode and he's on the bench, can't celebrate anymore kind of thing with it until the end at least. I think he might take him off to all the boos and go, that's your final game at Anfield. You were booed off the pitch. And then the next guy in waiting who's going to play, probably, most of the next season, unless they obviously buy somebody else. But he's come on to rapturous applause. His name's sung around the stadium. And then it's kind of like, this is what it could have been, but we took you off just to kind of prove a point. Does that make sense? So that's what I think anyway. But we shall see what happens in the next couple of games. I'm quickly going to rattle through a couple of other things that we got to talk about. One of them, which surprised me actually, was I think his name is Ian Graham. He used to be the former director of research. He come out and said they nearly didn't buy Alisson Becker. They were looking at him and Jan Oblak, is it? I think. And there was a choice between the two, and they ended up going for Alisson Becker. Now, looking at him, we've won the Champions League, obviously, and everything he's won that we've been talking about, the trophies the last few years. Matty, can you imagine a team without Alisson Becker in it? And having somebody else,
No, it's even like you think next summer and this Mamardashvili's coming back up because, again, this season, he has a lot of injuries for a goalkeeper, but Alisson Becker's the best goalkeeper I've ever seen play football, not just for Liverpool, I think in world football for me. And I think it's because of his 1v1s, they edge you. He's the best 1v1 shot stopper I've ever seen, and I think you'll struggle to find someone as good in 1v1s for a long time. I mean, I haven't seen fantastic keepers for Liverpool, but I think in the world I have, and I still think Ali ranks at number one. He's absolutely unbelievable, and he doesn't owe us nothing, to be fair to him. I think he's won us so many games, won us so many trophies. I'm excited that he's had such a good season again this year. Go again next year. Don't think Mamardashvili will dismount Alisson. I think Alisson leaves Liverpool and stops playing for Liverpool when he decides. Yeah, not with anybody else. I wouldn't be shocked if we give him a contract extension. But I wouldn't be grudging him going back to Brazil either. I'm seeing his career out at his boyhood club because that's what nice local lads do.
Tom, what do you think? Could you imagine anybody else bar Alisson Becker now? It's really hard, obviously, to go, oh, well, I think if we'd have had this play, it would have been better or would have been worse. But when I read that story, I was a bit surprised. I suppose we all know behind the scenes, when we sign a player, there was probably 2 or 3 others that they had in mind as well, just in case. But, I mean, the way he's been over the, 8 years or so, it's like, he's been fantastic for the club. I can't really personally imagine anybody else, but what do you think?
Yeah, it's not a bad word to say about him, really. He's just like the most complete goalie you'll ever see. I don't know, it'd be weird to see anyone else in there, like, apart from him. Like, same goes with Van Dijk and Salah, to be fair. You're just so used to just seeing them there now. It's like, it just won't seem right when someone else is there. It's like, how dare you have his spot, like, do you know what I mean? But yeah, this Mamardashvili, he's not going to, from what he's saying and what you kind of read of him, he's not going to come and sit on the bench, is he? He's really kind of pushing to be the number one, and he's not going to. I'd be surprised if he sits on the bench for more than a year. So there's obviously some sort of plans going on there, which does concern me a little bit about Alisson, because it's just not like us to spend 30 on million on a keeper if he's not going to play, is it, in the near future? So for me, if I had to call it from what I can see, I think Alisson will be off either maybe next summer, which I'd hate to see because I think he's got years left in him. He's 32, 33. So I think he's got 3 or 4 great years in him at least left yet. I think it'd be a big mistake to let him go even though he's getting older, I think it'd be a massive mistake to let him go. But yeah, I think I'd assume Marmadash really be on loan next year, possibly. But yeah, I can't, from what, as I said, from what he kind of says, seems like he's got a bit of a big ego about him. I can't see him sitting on the bench, so it's going to be interesting. And as we know, 2 top goalies never works, does it? You saw the Raya and Ramsdale situation. There was just pantomime every week. It's just not worth the hassle. It just never works. So something's going to have to give. And to be honest, although I like Marmadash, really like what I've seen of him, I hope if there's a choice between the two, I hope Alisson stays in there, because, as we said, he's the best goalie in the world, and I think he's one of the best. I think it's not mad to say he's one of the best of all time. He's just got absolutely everything in his locker.
Kev, the lads have obviously painted him, as a fantastic goalkeeper. I'm sure you'll agree with that. I do. Jan Oblak, he could have been in instead. Could have been vastly different. It could have been, for argument's sake, even better. We'll never know. But it's surprising though that it was down to 2, and we may not have ever seen Alisson in a red shirt or a black shirt or whatever. The goal he wears, he never wears technically red, does he? But you know what I mean.
But if you go back to the season before we signed him, he led in 5 at Anfield against us for Roma. So there would be many at the time, if you're going back then, some would have argued that Oblak was the better option. For me personally, the best way I can sum up Ali, we don't win what we do without him. That's how significant he is. Virgil came in with 6 months, and he had to do a numerous of jobs. He had to deal with the worst goalkeeper the world has ever seen, and he had to deal with the back 4 was one of the worst as well. And he had to deal with about 4 or 5 things. And he comes in, and we win. It doesn't. It's not rocket science. It's a simple thing. The goalkeeper changed everything. It's great having the likes of Salah, but Salah was already there. Virgil was already there. Ali is the reason why, and it's what Matty said, and it's what other goalkeepers have said. Reyes has said recently that it's unbelievable. I've tried to copy him, and I don't know how we can be out at a 1-to-1 so quickly and at people's feet. He said it's just crazy. He's the best in the world. It's unbelievable to think. But again, it's Oblak as well. I at the time it was either 1 or 2 of them out of those 2 for me. And thankfully with hindsight, we took the better option. But I wouldn't have argued if Oblak would have come in at that time either. Do you know what I mean? They're both world-class players. And that's the kind of level of what you need for a goalkeeper. He's up there with Ray Clements for me as the all-time Liverpool goalkeeper that we've ever had. And that's a great honour, because no other goalkeeper comes close. People talk about Ray, nowhere near as good as Ali. James, nowhere near. Grobler was probably the worst. I personally, I would say Ray Clements is probably is the level of what Ali is, and that shows how good Ali is. Ali is just amazing, from his distribution to his 1-to-1s, from his shot stopping, even getting to Odegaard's shot yesterday. I know Moreno scores, but he gets his hand to it. His save when we were down to 10 men at Newcastle, I still rate as one of the best saves I've seen him make. The one at Napoli, he's kept us in games. And don't forget, in the year that we need to get into the Champions League, he scores a header. Do you know what I mean? The lad's got everything. Do you know what I mean? And I'll say a typical Brazilian goal, by the way, not like not like an English one just thrown. No, it was a proper flying dive and headed into the other corner. It was a class. He had everything, and it'll be sad as and when he does go. I do think he'll stay till 27, because that's when the likes of Virgil and Salah will be staying till. So I'm hoping that the 3 of them will stay till then and bow out all 3 together and do what they normally do, which is go back to the boyhood clubs like good players they are.
Fair enough. Just I can see the clock ticking away there, lads, and I've got one left for you to talk about quickly, I suppose. Weirdly, it is about Real Madrid, and it's not to do with Trent. I'm not going to add that bit into it, but former Liverpool player, obviously current Leverkusen manager, Xabi Alonso, once rumoured maybe coming in last summer with us. looks like he's going to be appointed as Real Madrid manager. Matty, I'm going to come to you first. Just in general, as an ex-player and how he was with Leverkusen last year, do you think he's up to this job? Because it's a big step, this job, isn't it? And there's a lot of interference in Spain. So do you think this is something he can take hold of with both hands and make a success?
No. I like Xabi Alonso. I think he's a really talented manager. Got no begrudges him that he said no to us to hold on to Real Madrid. That is his boyhood side. I know we come through Sociedad, but it's quite common knowledge that his boyhood side was Real Madrid. Okay. Bit more annoyed because when you think of that Leverkusen game with Trent, he was all cuddling up to him, and he definitely knew then. So a bit pissed off at him for that. But I think Real Madrid's the wrong move for his career. For me, even as a Liverpool fan, I know he managed Everton, so saying this is painful. But Carlo Ancelotti, for me, is one of the best managers of my generation. He's absolutely world class. There was a period when just before we got Jurgen and we were linked to Ancelotti, and I was buzzing. For me, he genuinely is one of the best managers there is around out there. And this season, because he's had, you could say, has he had a bad season, or has Barcelona had a phenomenal season? And because he hasn't won the league or the Champions League, he's sacked. And that's what this is what Alonso's getting himself in for. If he doesn't win, I think he'll get 2 seasons. I don't think he'll win the Champions League next year, and I don't think he'll win the league as well. But in the second year, if he doesn't win that Champions League, even if he wins the league, he's sacked. And that's what that fan base is like. I've her family. She's got family who live in Madrid, but born and raised in Madrid, and proper Madrid fans go every game, season ticket holders, and they're the most fickle fans I've ever came across in my life. Honest to God, if a player is a bad, we'll put Gareth Bale into context. He won them 3 Champions Leagues on his own, and he's hated by them. He won them Champions Leagues on his own, and I think that's Alonso just made the wrong. Delighted that he didn't come to Liverpool, and we ended up with Arne Slot. I was gutted at the time, but I think Alonso should have maybe went to it pains me to say it, but maybe like an Arsenal, or went to a Bayern Munich, or went to Italy and went to say a Napoli and won them the league or something, and just developed his career that way. I think he's jumped a little bit too early. There is no bigger club in the world than Real Madrid. We've got to be honest with that, and taking that as ultimately your second job in managerial football, although you've got to give the lad credit for getting to that position within 2 seasons. I think he's just jumped too soon, and the downfall after that's never going to end well. So if he goes to Real Madrid, let's not forget he has had a fantastic season this year at Leverkusen. He did his first year. It's been all right. No. It's been good by Leverkusen standards, but not set the world alight season. He's now going to go to Real Madrid, and if he doesn't win the league and Champions League in the first 2 years, he's sacked. But what's the point? That's why when you see Klopp linked to Real Madrid, you laugh at it, because you know Klopp wouldn't get into something like that. It's even players. The periods of this season, the start of the season, Bellingham weren't scoring, and he had the white hankies out for Bellingham. That'll be Trent in 3 months. And it'll be the same with Alonso. It's just, I would have rather Alonso went to say like a Real Sociedad and done what he's done in Spain, as what he's done in Germany, and brought that side up to competing, than going to Real Madrid, the team that it just doesn't work. There's too many superstars. I think this year shows Barcelona on paper have a much weaker side than Real Madrid, and they've bullied them in the league. I think Mbappe is the first player, isn't he, to lose 5 El Clasicos in his first so many 5 or something like that. Like they have got a level to catch with Barcelona, and they're only going to get better. Yamal's got his second full season in first team football next year. He's going to get better. Rafinha's going to get better. I think it's a really, really bad move by Alonso, and I'm gutted to see him make it, to be honest, because I think he has got the potential to go really far as a manager, but going to Real Madrid this soon, it's not it for me. Just purely look at what they've done to Carlo, who genuinely is probably he's in the 3rd best manager in the world at the minute. You're talking Alonso, you're talking Klopp, Pep, and then Ancelotti. Them 3, I think Klopp and Pep edge Ancelotti, but he's in that conversation. He's one of the best managers in the world, and he's getting sacked because he hasn't won the Champions League, which is a hard competition to win. Yeah, it's just bad move.
Tom, what's your thoughts on it? It's a good or bad move, like Matty says?
I don't think you can say. Well, it's hard to say Real Madrid's a bad move, but I get what you mean. Like Leverkusen, the Bundesliga, to Real Madrid, it is an absolutely huge, gigantic step. But in the same breath, final to Liverpool was a massive step on it, and look what Slot's done. So, it can be done. Yeah, love Xabi though. I love the man, love the player, love watching him as a kid. But I hope he has an absolutely miserable time there because I hate Real Madrid, and I hate the players that play there. So yeah, hope his time's miserable. And I can't see him win the Champions League anyway with the setup they have. Mbappe and Vinicius, it just doesn't work. It's not balanced. The same with PSG when they had Messi and Mbappe, Neymar. It's all great on paper, but when in the reality, it doesn't work. You can't have two or more passengers in a team now. You can't have one, never mind two. And obviously one of them's out of position. Mbappe, he's put the goals up this season, but he's not a striker. It's just clear as day. That's not his natural game. So yeah, I think he'd do very well to win a Champions League in that setup. So yeah, I mean, hopefully he manages us one day and does great things with us. But while he's there, I hope he has an absolutely terrible time.
Kev, finally, I'll come to you. Alonso to Madrid. He plays a different style to what Ancelotti does, so the formation is going to change probably. But he's had that one good season at Leverkusen. Do you think this is a step too far, maybe, or do you think he's going to do well?
No, to be honest, I don't think this hinders his career. To be honest, if he goes to Madrid this early in his career, it's not going to jeopardize anything he does. I think he's had 2 good years at Leverkusen. The year he gets them to win the league, and to get them into second again this year to show that last year wasn't a fluke. It's only the last 5 games the last 5 games they went away from actually winning the league. But I think he's done a great job, and I think he's come to an actual end with Leverkusen. I think he's already gone on record. There'll be only 3 teams he'd like to manage, and that would be Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and ourselves. What order that is, get this out of your way. 2 years, 3 years down the line. And then maybe down the line, we see him at our place. But again, I agree with what the lads have said. It's going to be hard. And it's start of football, you only have to listen to what Matty said about, the fans. The fans won't like it. And as soon as they turn, that's it. You've only got a set amount of time to get through that. And if you don't get through it, you're out the door. But I don't think it jeopardizes him if he's only there for a season. I think everyone understands how big it is, but for me personally, I'm quite happy for him to go there. Let's see what he does. Let's see what he does with Trent. Let's see how he plays him. He's no Frimpong. He's no. He hasn't got Florian Wirtz either. So it's all down to how he's perceived. He's looked upon a little bit more friendlier than most legends who've been at the club, but just needs to see what happens. But I'm quite happy for him to be there. But I agree with Tom. I hope it's the worst time he has at that club, and then he moves on and takes over at Bayern Munich and shows how good he is, and then he comes to us a bit further down the line when Slot goes. I'm quite happy. I'm tired. I've won too many leagues. I've won too many European Cups. I'm happy to pass it on to Xabi now. So.
Well, I was going to say it's going to be a hard act to follow if he's coming in after Slot, because I hope we win the league for the next 5 years and 5 European Cups after this. So ultimately, that would mean we're against Real Madrid, potentially, semis or in the final, and then we'll see then. But I don't know how he's going to get.
I wouldn't rule that out, Kings. Honestly, I really wouldn't rule that out. I've got this weird feeling that Slot's the modern day Bob Paisley. I think Liverpool are going to dominate for a good few years, honestly.
I really hope that, he's come in this time, and we've discussed the fact, apart from Chiesa, which he never really plays, you can't count him. He hasn't bought anybody. He hasn't tweaked the side to make it his own. And I really hope that because he's had so long to look at it, that he really has got the grasp now of what he needs and what he wants himself. And it doesn't go off a different way that we go, oh, why did you buy him? I hope it really does just keep picking up now and just make us stronger and stronger. And that would be fantastic, because, for a club of this size to be winning the league again like this, I just feel that if we can back him in the summer, then potentially he has years ahead of him to make this a big success. I mean, there's talk already, I think, isn't there, of changing his contract, extending it already, because he's done obviously far more than what they said in the first season they were expecting. So I just hope he gets a real good run of it and a real good back in, and then we really see what he's made of, and potentially we could be sitting here for years to come talking about how good they are. That's what I'd like, but
fingers crossed with that, Kings, honestly.
Right, lads. I want to say thanks so much to Matty, Kev, and Tom for joining us tonight on the LFC Total Red Football Podcast. We'll be back. It's going to be Tuesday next week, as Liverpool are playing Brighton on the Monday night. So we're going to move it to Tuesday night, and we'll catch up with obviously the review of the game and any other Liverpool news that's come out in the next 7 days from now. So thank you so much for tuning in. You can download the audio on Spotify and Amazon Music, or you can watch us on YouTube. And I want to say thanks to everybody that's tuned in and watches us on TikTok, because the videos on there are in there hundreds and hundreds. So thank you so much for everybody that is tuning in. I hope you're enjoying the content. Please join in if you ever want to on the chat, and we can include you in the conversation. Until next week, I want to say thanks very much, lads, and we'll see you next